PCs like this have power that laptops simply can't match. Well, maybe if you're willing to pay 4 times as much for the same specifications. It's annoyed me for a long time that desktop PCs are basically impossible to take with you on the go, so a couple of months ago I decided to build a small form factor PC. It's built in this Thor Zone NANOQ S case, which is an 11-liter case. That's relatively small and also puts some strict limitations on what can actually fit inside. But that wasn't going to stop me from adding some of the most powerful components on the market. This case from Thor Zone is very special, since the outer shell is milled from a single piece of anodized aluminum, which gives an absolutely exceptional look, because there are no visible seams or joints where it's been screwed together. There are 2 sizes, a 16-liter version and an 11-liter version, which is the one that I went with here. There are also different colors, but I'll be honest, one of the main reasons I chose this exact case is because it looks incredibly similar to a Mac Pro cheese grater, which I think is a very beautifully designed machine. That also meant there really wasn't any other choice than the Moonstone version for me. The black one probably could have worked too. Inside it looks fairly empty, but everything you need is actually there. And depending on how large your components are, you can even shift the entire internal layout just by loosening a few screws. The purpose of this PC is for it to be my primary work machine for video editing, which means it needs to absolutely kick ass. That's why I went with an AMD Ryzen 9 9950X3D, which is probably the most powerful consumer CPU right now. Since most of what I do is very CPU bound, the CPU is also the most important component in the entire build. The motherboard I chose is an Asus B850i ITX board, which has support for 2 PCI-e 5.0 M.2 SSDs. That's going to matter a lot, since data transfers from cameras, SSDs and similar devices need to be extremely fast. And it also needs to run programs incredibly well and smoothly. On top of that, there are plenty of 10 gigabit USB ports and a few 20 gigabit ports. The LAN port is only 2.5 gigabit though. It does however have Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4, so it's very possible that I'll completely ditch a wired Ethernet connection in the near future, since it's incredibly fast and stable. For RAM, I went with 2 G.Skill Trident C 48GB at 6400 MHz. And thank God I bought them a few months ago, because now they're basically insanely expensive and I wouldn't recommend anyone buy them at current prices. The speed is more than enough, but I can't compromise on capacity since I need as much RAM available as possible. Programs like After Effects at least can really start chewing through memory, especially if I also have DaVinci Resolve open at the same time, then it's really under heavy load. The cooler is an AIO pump from Asetek, their Gen 7 AIO pump, which you can purchase as an add-on from Thor Zone. There are no fancy displays or flashy extras, which suits me perfectly. It also has a fairly low profile, which is ideal for such a compact build. Because space in this case is so limited, the only real option was to use 2 different fan sizes for the AIO. One is a standard 120mm fan from Be Quiet, and the other is a slim fan from Noctua that sits above the motherboard. I also knew that the power supply cables would sit very close to the Be Quiet fan, so I bought a protective guard to prevent the cables from getting caught and causing problems over time. But don't worry, if you're considering building something just as insane yourself, I've left links to all the parts down in the description, so check those out. The power supply is a 1000 watt SFX unit from Corsair, which actually comes with very short cables out of the box. That means there's no real need to buy custom cables separately, which I really appreciate. Since the CPU and the graphics card I plan to install in the future draw quite a lot of power, there really wasn't any other choice than a 1000 watt PSU. And even then, it might end up being a slight bottleneck. Because in addition to the AMD Ryzen 9 9950X3D CPU, I'm currently trying to get my hands on an RTX 5090 Founders Edition. It's very important that it's a Founders Edition, since it's the only RTX 5090 that fits in terms of size. So for now, I'll be installing my wide RTX 4070 Super, since I'll have to make do with what I have available for the time being. In general, installing the riser cable, front USB-C connector, power button, power cable extension, and power cables for all the components isn't exactly easy when everything has to be this compact. It requires a bit more patience than I'm usually used to. It's also a bit unfortunate that the graphics card leaves such a large empty space around the I/O panel. I would have liked to see at least some kind of shielding bracket added there. Since I didn't really feel like paying full price for all the parts, I've bought most of them on sale over time. That's why this build actually took me a couple of months to complete. I was especially waiting for the PCI-e 5.0 M.2 NVMe SSDs to go on sale, because I really wanted 4TB available on my C drive, just like I had on my previous build. It took some time, but I managed to get a 4TB SSD from Crucial at a pretty good price, if I do say so myself. So in it goes, the shell goes back on, and that's basically the build complete. I'm very happy with the build I've put together here, but I'm also looking forward to eventually swapping out the white graphics card for a black one, since it kind of ruins the overall look. For now, I also think the lighting is pretty nice, but I'll almost certainly either turn it off completely or dim it a lot over time. It especially annoys me that some of the light leaks out through the front. So far, I've only made some minor fan control adjustments to make sure it doesn't sound like a jet engine all the time. But once I get the final graphics card installed, I'll definitely undervolt it as well, so I can really get the maximum performance out of the CPU. Just to give you a rough idea of where performance sits, I've run it through a few different games. I can't really show exactly how powerful it is at its full potential until the build is completely finished, since it's not very representative when I'm using such a weak graphics card compared to the rest of the components. There are also quite a few add-ons you can purchase for the case, including lighting, the AIO pump, vertical feed, and a PCI-e 5.0 riser cable for the new NVIDIA 50 series graphics cards. All of these are things I've added, but you can also buy a walnut front or a single chrome front piece, which I personally think would hurt the look more than help it. I didn't buy the lighting hub just to get lighting, but rather because it also gives you access to an additional front USB-C port. The biggest downside of this entire build is probably as soon as you build an SFF case, certain parts like the motherboard and case are noticeably more expensive. That's also why I was very strategic about waiting for sales. And the case in particular is very expensive, especially since customs fees aren't included. I ended up paying 50 euros in customs on top of the already high price of 319 euros or 525 euros with all the add-ons. So yeah, very expensive and definitely another reason to hunt for deals on the other components. But I'm very happy with my massive downscaling in size and upscaling in performance. See you in the next one.